Hello and welcome to Redacted Tonight. These are dire times, folks, and I think most of you know what the greatest risk is to all of us right now. Sure, some of you are thinking the fact that I can't pay for my insulin this month, but nope, not a big deal. Others of you are thinking the fact that I inhale asbestos all day at my job because it's the only way I can feed my children, who, despite my greatest efforts at convincing them otherwise, still seem to think they require food to get by. But nope, that's not it. Not significant, not big enough. Think big. Now you got it. China, the great red menace with 1.3 billion people who make most of the products you own, blah, ha, 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 except the sex toys, which are made in Santa Muerte for some reason, blah, ha, 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 ha. Western mainstream media, along with our government, have been doing everything they can to push anti-China propaganda the past several years, despite the fact China is making great technological advancements in many areas and succeeded in ending extreme poverty for 100 million of their citizens. To put that in perspective, that's a third of the U.S. population or a quarter of the number of people Dr. Phil has f***ed up. Then there's the fact China hasn't gone to war or bombed anyone in decades and have only one military base outside of China, while the U.S. has bombed all of the people recently and have roughly all of the military bases outside the U.S. But Western media can't have China doing positive things, so this week a bill is going through Congress that proposes giving out $500 million for negative news coverage of China. So basically, in place of healthcare, average Americans will just have to hope to pay for their kidney transplant with a few hastily written articles saying Chinese people undercook their Mushu pork on purpose. But then that plan will fall through when they realize the entire staff at their local Chinese food restaurant outside Detroit are actually Guatemalan. But yes, $500 million for negative misinformation about China. Has there been a dearth of negative propaganda against China? Last I checked, there's more negative U.S. news about China than there are humpback whales with at least one fidget spinner lodged inside their large intestine. I mean, even before that bill has gone through Congress, we've seen the advent of a whole new genre of journalism called "But at What Cost?" Media outlets say something positive about China, and then they add, "But at what cost?" These are real headlines. The Telegraph writes, "Wuhan 1 year on. The city that appears safe from COVID, but at what cost?" BBC says, "China is getting smarter. But at what cost?" Oh, dear God, they're getting smarter. It's going to be a disaster, just like when women learned how to read. Before we could even get a hold on things, they started having opinions. Then they found out their period wasn't the devil punishing them for having opinions. And then, bam, there was an all-female cast of Ocean's 8, and our world has sucked ever since. Let's continue. Serbia has rolled out the red carpet to China. But at what cost? Probably a scuffed up red carpet, which can cost $60 to have dry cleaned. Then there's China invests in Ethiopia, but at what cost? And China's economy looks to be stabilizing, but at what cost? Did I mention these are real headlines? And Hollywood has an appetite for China's big bucks, but at what cost? Oh God, Chinese people might end up enjoying that Emoji Movie, whatever it was called. Or worse yet, Pineapple Express. And then where will we be? Seth Rogen films were supposed to be our little secret. And CNN wrote, "The China market is lucrative for the sports business, but at what cost?" We can't let Chinese people just enjoy the NBA, cheering while sweaty dudes with pituitary gland tumors put a ball into a basket 100 times in a row. It's our thing. If China starts doing it, we will lose our self-identity. Before you know it, an Indian person is sitting next to you at an NFL game, and you know he's not going to do the wave properly. He's going to screw up your whole section. And next thing you know, the Jumbotron is showing you with the words face blinking in neon. I've seen it 1,000 times. Next, there's the slight variance on the but at what cost genre, where they say, but at what cost, without actually saying the words, but at what cost? For example, the Financial Times worries about the vanishing slow trains of China. The time-honored ritual of a long, slow train journey home for Chinese New Year is under threat. The time-honored ritual of taking forever to get somewhere is disappearing? Much like when cars replaced horses here in the U.S., the time-honored tradition of having your legs on and flies splattered in your teeth evaporated overnight, causing New York's elites to have to shit on their own legs just to keep up pretenses. Literally, this is an article saying China is so evil, it's putting in high-speed rail. While we here in the U.S. are doing the right and just and romantic thing by not putting in any high-speed rail and barely even fixing our current transit system, like the New York City subway that resembles the inside of a dying Decepticon's rusty rectum. We are letting people enjoy the romance of waiting hours for the train, then having to sit in the lap of a man with syphilis of the polio of the rickets for the entire 2-mile ride that takes 75 minutes because 3 people tried to kill themselves by jumping in front of the train, though they didn't realize it was going so slow. All it would do was gently push them out of the way. We can't rob transit riders of that bliss-filled journey. Moving on, here's another one from Bloomberg. China's curing cancer faster and cheaper than anywhere else. But some worry they may be going too fast. China's curing cancer too fast. Think about it. What are people going to do with all those family members that are still alive? Sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, who are undoubtedly annoying people, and now they've survived cancer? No one is prepared for that. Slow down, China, we beg you. Learn from Uncle Sam. Develop a healthcare system that is only available to about half the population, and even for those with insurance, they will still likely spend their entire life savings while fighting cancer, which means they'll be poor afterward, which means they'll likely die much sooner than if they weren't poor. In the U.S. system, not only are we barely making any progress on cancer, despite what Joe Biden has promised, but it came out a few years ago that Wall Street secretly tells their investors to avoid funding cures for diseases. A leaked Goldman Sachs note to top investors said, the potential to deliver one-shot cures is one of the most attractive aspects of gene therapy. However, such treatments offer a very different outlook with regard to recurring revenue versus chronic therapies. It could represent a challenge for genome medicine developers looking for sustained cash flow. Don't invest in cures because they don't come with a sustained cash flow. China is busy curing cancer, while the most we're doing is trying to make cancer like your stepson who lost his job and lives in your laundry room now. Always there, never not annoying, wish you could just do anything to go back to living your regular life, but nope, this is just how it is now. To sum up, China's curing cancer, but at what cost? Or how about the Council on Foreign Relations saying that China's mixed COVID record offers opportunities for U.S. global health leadership? Mixed record? The U.S. has watched nearly 1 million of our citizens die from COVID, while China has seen around 5,000. So how, again, are we the beacon of global health leadership? Our health, everything sucks. Half of Americans are now giving birth inside livestock feed bins because they're afraid to go to hospitals where they'll be charged more money than they'll earn in the next 20 years. And that's including their side hustle selling adorable onesies for infants that say new human fresh out the box. But it's not all bad. The livestock feed bins do offer better lunch options than the hospitals. And the baby just slides straight down the chute into the loving arms of the farmhand Jebediah. Plus, while U.S. corporate media tears apart anti-vaxxers here at home, when it comes to China and Russia, our corporate media are the anti-vaxxers. As journalist Alan McLeod detailed for Mint Press, outlets including Reuters, The Washington Post, Yahoo News, and others ran a bombshell story. Hundreds of Thai medical workers infected despite China's Sinovac vaccinations. Oh my God, that must mean China's vaccine doesn't work at all. Yet, the article also notes that over 677,000 Thai medical workers have received the dose, meaning that more than 99.9% of those vaccinated have not developed COVID-19. Only 99.9% effective? What's the point in even getting it? It's kind of like how Tom Hanks is only 99.9% beloved by the public, and I'm amazed he hasn't killed himself, preferably by running across the country and then straight into the ocean. I just started running. So basically, our mainstream media are anti-vaxxers, as long as the vax is coming from China or Russia. Anyway, what has been the result of this endless barrage of anti-China propaganda? Well, Gallup tells us China's image, along with Russia, has hit a historic low. I wonder why that is. It must be because China, all 1.3 billion people, are more evil than ever before. It couldn't possibly be that the United States is a waning psychopathic empire in late-stage capitalism, trying desperately to continue to control the world rather than helping our own people who are desperately trying to survive. Perhaps we can't think straight because we're too tense. Pun intended! Pun intended! Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast. This is Redacted tonight.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we got our soul.
Welcome, I'm Lee Camp. Now let's break some news. While the mainstream media seems focused on whether an Olympic athlete moved their pinky finger to the left on their final turn, thereby creating the drag that cost them 1/100th of a second, thereby losing to Slovenia, thereby shaming their entire family, including long-dead ancestors, there's actually a lot of other important fights going on right now. Not just the fight to be the fastest at a sport no one has heard of until last week. Okay. It's a bit harsh. I actually had heard of the men's freestyle tandem toaster jump in which two men on skis hold each other in a cuddle position as they jump over a toaster oven at speeds that often break the sound barrier. But I've never actually been to a competition, to one of those competitions. Anyway, here's a more important fight that's getting ignored. In Puerto Rico, 20,000 teachers, nearly 3/4 of the island's teachers, went on strike this week to fight for higher wages, better pensions, and better working conditions. And in case you forgot, Puerto Rico is an American territory, whether it should be or not. So perhaps we should help the people there rather than treat them like a dying houseplant that you know you can't save. Well, we won't throw it out just yet because people will ask where it went, so we'll just stop watering it and let the rest sort itself out. The minimum wage of a teacher in Puerto Rico is $1,750 a month, which is not enough for most to live on. So they end up taking second and third jobs. And besides how ridiculous that is, it's also awkward. It's awkward to be 16 years old and end up with your chemistry teacher serving you breadsticks at TGI Fridays. Yesterday he was telling you you're not exerting yourself enough, and then today you're telling him the bloomin' onion is undercooked, so you'd like to speak to his manager. Then it turns out his manager is your guidance counselor, who last week told you that you should give up on your dreams of being a doctor because you're barely smart enough to be a manager at a goddamn TGI Fridays. And now you know how he knew. Anyway, these teachers are fighting for better treatment during a pandemic when the richest people in the world have gained trillions of dollars. Nearly 500 people became billionaires during just the first year of this pandemic. And American billionaires have added $2 trillion to their fortunes during the pandemic. And I gotta be honest, I don't think these billionaires are good people. I think very few of them spend their Sundays helping orphans with no arms tie their shoes, or orphans with no legs tie the shoes they wish they needed. I doubt most of those billionaires even recycle. I mean, sure, they might have the little blue bin in the third kitchen, the emergency kitchen for when the backup kitchen is being used as a topless oyster bar, but they probably don't spend much time sorting out the different stuff, the recyclable stuff. I bet most of them have like a dead mouse and a half-empty milkshake in the blue mother bin. That's not what it's for, not what it's for. A dirty milkshake cup is less recyclable than most human body parts. I should know. I worked in the back room of Kid Rock's fashion line for a couple of months. It's time to stand with the teachers and the Starbucks workers and the Amazon packers trying to unionize or fight back across this country, including territories that most of us can't find on a map or a funny place mad for kids at a Waffle House. And let me also just say, I'm sorry that I insulted the Olympics. I really am. I think it's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time in which athletes from around the world put political differences aside to come together and represent their entrenched nationality against other lesser people who we view as meaningless because they were born in a part of the world that regularly serves goulash. Brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it, honestly. Check out our podcast. It's called Moment of Clarity. It's free on any podcast platform. I'll be right back with a lot more.
I've seen the horrors that arise when money and evil combine. Corporate criminals who trash countless lives to add just one more dollar to their billions. They threaten, they bribe, they'll do anything to keep their crimes in the dark. But the people they've hurt are demanding justice. Their stories need to be told on America's Lawyer.
Welcome back. I'm still Lee Camp. A new report by One Fair Wage details how much more COVID relief restaurant owners received compared to restaurant workers. For more, we turn to our top culinary correspondent, Jaffer Khan. Hello, Jaffer.
Hello, Lee. See, this is great news because when I go out to my favorite restaurant during this scary pandemic and eat my delicious meal prepared by the cooks on a fresh plate, cleaned by the dishwashers, served to me kindly by the warm wait staff, well, I just look up and pray that the CEO of Chili's is doing all right.
Your favorite restaurant is Chili's?
I read that report. Yes, it's true. The relief provided to restaurant owners, over $73.2 billion, on average was 30 times higher than relief provided to average workers. But so what? The report even complained that none of the restaurant owners' relief was conditioned on the treatment or pay of the workers.
Well, that's exactly the point, or it's a great point. Congress was so eager to give out relief to the owners. The least they could have done is use that relief to incentivize COVID safety protocols and fair pay during the pandemic. You know, something that would help millions of average Americans.
Help average Americans? We'll leave the crazy experiments to the scientists we don't listen to.
And it's not just a lack of incentives. The meager relief restaurant workers did get, the unemployment benefits, many of them couldn't even access because they were technically only making $2.13 an hour.
Well, yeah, restaurant workers work off of tips, and tips are reserved for those who make me feel good, not for those who complain, oh no, my relief isn't arriving, how do I feed my kids? Would you mind coughing in that direction? Guess what? No tip for you. If you want a tip, laugh at my jokes and call me babe. Terrible service.
Service? Who are you talking to? Whatever. Don't you think it's unfair that restaurant workers make $2.13 an hour and have the rest of their income paid by customers who demand that they humiliate themselves, who might not tip at all? I mean...
Hey, if you got a problem, take it up with the National Restaurant Association. They're the ones who lobbied hard for the $73.2 billion in relief to owners and for the removal of all worker treatment conditions on that relief.
That's awful. You know, a study found that line cooks experienced the most excess deaths in 2020 of any profession. The National Restaurant Association has blood on their hands.
And don't forget, when there was an attempt to raise the $2.13 sub-minimum wage during the pandemic, they lobbied to shoot that down too.
This is straight up evil, man.
It's not evil, it's tipping culture. And who is to say where this culture came from?
Slavery. No, literally came from slavery.
Okay, Debbie Downer. But look, if we raise the sub-minimum wage to the minimum wage, then every restaurant will go out of business.
No, then the rest of the country will be like the 7 states in the union that already banned restaurants from using the sub-minimum wage.
Oh, you mean like California, a state with no restaurants?
What are you talking about? There's millions of restaurants in California.
Kielbasa kiosks don't count.
There's a million restaurants that are not kielbasa kiosks.
All right, fine, there's restaurants in California, but look, Congress is currently considering allocating even more non-worker conditional money to restaurant owners. And I can't have you mess this up. As Americans, it is our responsibility to care for the CEO of Chili's.
No, it's definitely not. All right, thanks, Joffer.
Thanks, Lee.
Moving on, technology is rapidly changing every day, but did you ever think that instead of staring at a screen 24/7, you might end up with a computer chip in your brain? How horrifically, tragically awesome would that be? For more on this new innovation, we go to our intelligence failure, Anders Lee.
If you watched the Super Bowl this past weekend, and you're one of those dorks who only watches for the commercials and not one of the cool guys who bet their savings on the losing team, then chances are you saw quite a few ads for electric vehicles. For some reason, the top seller was conspicuously absent. Tesla Motors and their South African wannabe Bond villain CEO, Elon Musk, were up to something else. What could Musk have been doing? Was he constructing a man-made active volcano for his island lair? Or making a lion in great white fall in love to breed new creatures for his Shark Tank? As possible as all that is, there's a good chance that Elon Musk was fixating on his latest side project, Neuralink. Neuralink may sound like a web browser from 2001, but it's a new technology that Musk claims will shape the future. It's essentially a transhumanist psychic interface, or in English, a microchip that's surgically inserted into your skull to serve as a modem in your brain, potentially allowing you to control computers, drones, and prosthetic limbs with your thoughts. Now I know what you're thinking. Or no, I guess I should probably clarify. I don't know what you're thinking. That type of microchip is still a long way off. But if I had to guess, I'd say you're probably more than a little weirded out by the prospect of his creepiness, Elon Musk, controlling people's minds. Hear him out though. Neuralink technology could end up being very useful for people with disabilities. The microchip could even generate electrodes that treat paralysis. Beyond that, the man himself claims that Neuralink will one day enable paraplegics to walk again. Musk warns that if we don't invest in Neuralink now, we won't be prepared for the singularity, a future phase in which humans are overtaken by the power of machines. Now, like most of Musk's ideas, you might recognize it from the plot of Terminator. That really is a brilliant business move, though, demanding that society take your pet project seriously because it could preempt some scary yet completely hypothetical future development. You might laugh at my boob glasses and face bras now, but just you wait for the day when every human's nipples and eyeballs switch places. Unsurprisingly, Neuralink has acquired a fair share of haters and doubters among scientists. This includes world-renowned neuroscientist Miguel Nicolelis, who says that Musk barely knows where the brain is located. I mean, does anyone really? Despite all the spite, Neuralink has already conducted a series of successful experiments, like this one, which tested the device on a pig. They were able to monitor that cute little oinker's brainwaves and have a machine make corresponding noises, which is something we've already been able to do on people for about 100 years. In Elon's defense, he was expecting something a little more akin to Babe 2, Pig in the City.
This place can really take it out of you.
But that's not all. Pigs are pretty smart, but they've got nothing on monkeys. like this macaque monkey, who they hooked up to Neuralink to play Pong with its mind. You just know that Elon Musk specifically insisted that they go with the breed of monkey that sounds closest to my Anyway, though monkey mind pong has actually been done before, this was a genuinely impressive feat, assuming it wasn't staged. So impressive that it really makes you wonder how exactly they got the monkey to do that. Well, according to a lawsuit filed by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, Neuralink's testing facility here at UC Davis is a pretty lousy place for a monkey to live, macaque or not. Now, just a heads up, if you're an animal lover who can't stand the thought of a monkey being harmed, you might want to turn off the rest of this video and go play Donkey Kong to ponder the beauty of apes. The lawsuit details how several monkeys whose brains were equipped with Neuralink devices experienced extreme vomiting and exhaustion, while others, overcome by stress, allegedly mutilated themselves. Neuralink now claims those lost fingers could have resulted from conflicts with other monkeys. Another monkey reportedly developed a skin infection after having Neuralink's device drilled into its head. I'm not sure why Neuralink thought the conflicts with other monkeys line would help. Hey, our monkeys don't self-harm necessarily. They're having so much fun here that sometimes they attack each other. If modern medicine can actually save and improve people's lives with Neuralink-type technology, then it should be pursued. But if human beings really want to merge with computers and have everything we experience mediated by algorithms, then Elon Musk is one of the worst people to have in charge. From California, I'm Anders Lee for Redacted Tonight.
That's the show! But on Redacted VIP this week, I talked with rock legend Roger Waters. You gotta see it. To see it, go to portable.tv and click on the Redacted Tonight playlist. Don't miss that interview. You can also get it all with the Redacted Tonight podcast. It's called Moment of Clarity, and it's free on Stitcher, Spotify, and iTunes. Until next time, good night, and keep fighting.